Hello everyone! So welcome to the Virgo Cup 2.0 guide, the guide for Champion Meeting 17. Champion Meeting 17 is going to take place at the JBC Classic. It is a 2,000 meter medium race course. It is standard distance with wet conditions, sunny days, fall runner. It takes place at the Oguri race course and it is a right-handed course. Notably, this is also a dirt racetrack, so this is a dirt medium CM. Here's the track for the race course. The final spurt will start early into the corner 3. So this means that final spurt is not starting on the final corner, nor is it starting on a straight, which means that a lot of skills such as straightaway spurt or trace and cheer will not be effective. So when you are looking at skills to consider acceleration, you want to be looking at a late race corner. Final corner skills will not cut it in terms of acceleration. Your acceleration will be too delayed. Another interesting thing about this race course is that there are 0 hills, which means that we are not going to have a very easy time building stamina, even though it is a 2,000 meter course. Additionally, any skill that procs on a hill, such as determined descent or after school stroll or moxie, will not work either. So with that track in mind, we are looking at these for our inherited accelerations. Now, frontrunners, of course, will be taking angling and scheming, late surgers will be taking let's pump and moving past and beyond, and closers will also take the late surger excels. Unfortunately, there are no reliable inheritable accelerations for pace chasers. The TLDR of CM17 is that it is going to be a little bit challenging. So a dirt medium course makes running a lot of Umas difficult because they just don't have the right aptitudes. There are no hills, again, which means that stamina requirements are going to be higher, but stamina is difficult to effectively build in Grand Concert because you are punished for running kind of one-offs on various cards. We don't really have a whole lot of reliable acceleration access, and the meta is going to be very dominated by one meta Uma. 3 guesses as to who that's going to be. So I think that in talking a little bit about why Christmas Oguri is so good on this track, it will help to kind of understand what the meta of this track is. So Christmas Oguri is extremely good on this track for a couple reasons. She has dramatically less stamina requirements, she is very easy to build, she has a better chance of hitting medium S than any non-dirt Uma, she has deck flexibility, and she has a carryover combo unique with a backup trigger. This means that she has acceleration access in a CM with not a whole lot of other options. Additionally, because she has that backup trigger, she is going to be remarkably consistent. She will be more consistent than she was in CM15. So let's talk a little bit more about why she's so easy to build. Having Dirt B and Aptitude means that you can stack her legacy with medium sparks, and hitting medium S is very, very important, especially now that our speed caps have been raised and we are on a medium track. Medium S is going to make you go much, much faster in the late race, and Christmas Oguri has a much easier time hitting medium S than any Uma that has to stack a lot of dirt sparks in their legacy. Christmas Oguri does not really need any specific parents other than Tachyon for Uma squared. Christmas Oguri has a gold heal and a white heal already in her kit, and additionally, her unique also has an additional heal on it. Tachyon's speed will give her additional gold velocity skills, and most other Umas can't really use these velocity skills because being a pace chaser is very rough unless you are Christmas Oguri, so she can kind of uniquely take advantage of the fact that Tachyon's speed is such a good card with a good gold skill for this Uma. Christmas Oguri also has a great growth. She has 15% speed, 15% stam, which is very, very strong, both in Grand Concert and in this specific CM where you really want to be building a little bit of stam. This means that Christmas Oguri does not really need to run a stamina card, which is a huge benefit to her. The only reason you might want to run a stamina card is if you're preparing for a lot of stamina debuffs or if you have very weak legacies that don't have a lot of stamina sparks. Grand Concert heavily incentivizes running non-stamina decks. This means that you really want to be able to not have to run Super Creek. If you can avoid running Super Creek and still have enough stamina to finish the race, you're in a very good spot, and Christmas Oguri can hit this spot much easier than most other Umas in the game. This means that she can afford to run an acceleration card like Yukino Bijin Wit or Daiwa Scarlet Power, while other Umas just simply cannot. This will snowball Christmas Oguri's win equity from just above average to head and shoulders above every other Uma, because she has so much deck flexibility due to her base kit, her build, and how much recovery she can get away with. All this to say, if you have Christmas Oguri, I do think that you should run her unless you really don't want to. The differential in runs between a passable Christmas Oguri and a passable anyone else is honestly kind of ridiculous, and Christmas Oguri just wins more reliably than anybody else does anyway. So if you care about having a high win rate in CM, or if you care about saving yourself from time and effort, then I would honestly recommend just building Christmas Oguri if you have her. Now, for those of you who don't have her and don't want to run her, there is a small glimmer of hope on the horizon. The July 1st changes actually made this CM a lot more bearable on global than it was on other servers. This is because we got the on your left, neck and neck, and from the brink buffs early. So all of these skills have been buffed to hit in the first half of the late race, which reduces the chance of them misfiring by a significant amount. Additionally, on your left and from the brink will now both activate from 4th place, meaning that if your late is pushing forward too much, as they may do because of all the debuffers that we're seeing, they can still hit this acceleration. So these will give us a little bit of a reprieve when it comes to trying to build Umas that can defeat Christmas Oguri. So the biggest issue in CM17 is stamina. There are no downhills on a 2000 course with wet conditions. This means that we want to use about 800 stamina and 600 guts as a baseline. So this is going to be a very vague minimum. You do want more for fronts and pace, and you can go a little bit lower if you are stacking recoveries. Now that's all well and good, except this is a medium course. Debuffers exist, and now we're contending with 564, which is a debuffer skill that makes debuffers even more potent. People know that this is a high stamina requirement CM, which means that people are going to be bringing stamina debuffers. When we are talking about surviving stamina debuffers, this means that we will want more stamina and more recoveries, which again, Grand Live actively punishes us for building. This makes deck building really tricky to still maintain high stats while also getting the amount of stamina that we need. So when we're talking about deck building for stamina, in my opinion, Umas without innate recoveries or heavy stam legacies will likely need to run a specific card to hit either 800 stamina or above, or get a gold recovery. For Umas with innate recoveries, you can risk it with dropping stamina cards. This means you can try to deck build with a 2 speed, 2 power, 1 wit, and light hello, and try to build your stamina through clicking on power. Alternatively, you could try to build a 3 speed, 2 wit light hello build. Using this, you high roll your speed and wit, and you try to click stamina clicks whenever possible. This is viable on Umas like Christmas Oguri, or even Maino Top Gun, who does have that 20% stamina and an innate stamina recovery. Alternatively, Umas with innate recoveries can use stamina cards like Meisho Doto Stam, which don't give you recoveries, but can actually give you good skills. Meisho Doto Stam gives you medium corners for free in her first chain and killer tunes in her last chain, making her a really nice card if you want to buff up your stamina just a little bit, but you already have the recovery. You can also just be extra safe with innate recovery Umas and use double golds by bringing a card that will give you a stamina gold and doubling up on those. If your Uma does not have an innate recovery, you can risk it with speed or wit gold recovery cards. There are quite a few in the game that will give you a gold recovery on a speed card or on a wit card. With this, you can run similar decks to Umas that have innate recoveries, but you are really gaming hard on your stamina sparks, and you do definitely want to make sure that you can get those stamina clicks when possible. These decks are going to be a little bit weaker because the cards that have those gold recoveries on them are going to be a little bit weaker. However, it's still possible to high roll a deck like this and get enough stats to be able to win the game. Alternatively, you can just use Super Creek, take the rating hit, and be very safe in stamina. And here's all the wit and speed cards that can also give you gold recoveries. These are cards that you can slot into 3 speed 2 wit decks without really breaking your deck or being forced to run a stamina card. Now, these aren't amazing options, but they are going to help you high roll a little bit easier because we don't have to fit in a stamina card. For wit cards, you can run the Wit Taishin card for Sleeping Lion. However, Sleeping Lion is going to be pretty unreliable due to the fact that there will be people running Dirt G debuffing Umas, which means that you are not going to be far enough back for Sleeping Lion to proc. Lates can use the free-to-play Satono Diamond Wit card for a Lie in Wait. However, Lie in Wait will only hit from 4th place or below, so if your lates are being pushed up into 3rd place due to everybody else, including maybe even you, running debuffers, you're not going to hit Lie in Wait. So if you are running a late surger with Lie in Wait, I might recommend running multiple late surgers or Umas that will be ahead of your late surger rather than behind them so they can push them back a little bit in the composition. For speed cards, the free-to-play Air Shakur has Serenity, which is a skill that will activate if you are running behind another runner. It's just like Slipstream, but it's a gold heal. It is actually a pretty reliable skill, and I have been using Air Shakur speed in a couple of my end closer builds, and I have found it to be pretty usable. The Suzuka speed card and the Mihono Bourbon speed card both have Track Blazer, which is a golden heal that procs from 1st through 3rd place. This is a good heal to put onto a front runner. The Zeno Rob Roy speed card has Lie in Wait, just like that Satono Diamond, but it is a speed card. Tosin Jordan Speed is probably the card that a lot of people will be using because it is the most flexible. Breath of Fresh Air works on every position. Additionally, since these 7-1 buffs, Breath of Fresh Air is now reliable because it is on a mid-race straight. And then finally, if you have been playing since the very beginning of the game, the Speed Special Week card does still give Gourmand for Pace Chasers, and that is also a very reliable recovery. For frontrunners, fronts have access to acceleration, but it is relatively limited compared to Christmas Oguri and Late Surgers. Frontrunners can run Kapana Riki and Smart Falcon, either version of Smart Falcon, and I think that is going to be your best bet in terms of effort to output. However, I do think that Mayano Top Gun or Samamura Zensky can also work as frontrunners. The unfortunate part is that fronts really suffer from being forced to use Bourbon Wit in a scenario where card quality matters. So Mihono Bourbon Wit is not a great wit card, particularly in Grand Concert. So by using Mihono Bourbon Wit, you're kind of stuck building less wit than you might if you were to be able to use a stronger wit card. The crazy tryhard option would be a Dirt G Saiyan Sky. She is very strong if you can get her to hit, but getting her to hit is going to be really, really challenging. If you remember the meta from CM12 and CM15, Saiyan Sky is one of the few Umas that can reliably beat Christmas Oguri if she hits her unique. For Pace Chasers, Pace unfortunately has no reliable accelerations except for just being Christmas Oguri. Inheriting Festive Miracle is not that strong, it's only a 0.1 acceleration, and you do have to dump a lot of your SP budget into getting heals to proc it. Now you have to get heals anyway, so it is viable to get Festive Miracle just because you're already using heals, but it's still not that strong, especially compared to the Christmas Oguris you're going to see on the track. Now, Pace Chasers can inherit Angling and Scheming and try to get Lucky Pace because there probably won't be that many fronts in the CM just due to fronts being pretty limited and also not very strong compared to Christmas Oguri. Because we did get neck and neck buffs, you can try to use Camping Taiki for her neck and neck buffs. You can also try to slot the Die with Scarlet Power card into your deck to gamble on neck and neck. If you're a pace that has an innate recovery and a speed growth, you can run 2 speed 2 power to try to build your stamina. All of that to gamble on 1 RNG Excel doesn't really seem very viable to me, but like, what else can you really do if you're a Pace Chaser main? The Christmas Oguri edition of Pace Chaser slides are much more optimistic. So to build a Christmas Oguri, step 1, make or borrow an Agnes Tachyon parent. Step 2, run a career with 1 Dirt Spark and enough medium sparks in Legacy to hit medium S. Step 3, you learn Uma Squared from your Agnes Tachyon parent, you learn Gourmand from your base kit, you learn 777s from your base kit, and then you try to get either Corner Recovery or Soft Step sometime in your career. And then that's it. That's how you build Christmas Oguri. We're done. Christmas Oguri does still need some stamina. You can't just never click it or completely disregard it. However, using Stamina Sparks allows her to run 0 stamina cards, unless you're really, really scared of quad stamina debuffer runes. Now, stamina debuffers can still kill a Christmas Oguri, so you do need to be a little bit conscientious of that. However, I don't think that's worth giving up your card slot in order to just make you better against this narrow niche of rooms, because giving up that card slot means that you will be worse in dominated rooms where you want to outspeed. So I do think that with that extra card slot, you can either run the Yukino Bijin Wit card or the Die with Scarlet Power card. Yukino Bijin Wit card does give No Stopping Me, which is an acceleration that hits if you are running into or on the side of another Uma during the late race. It is a very strong acceleration, but does require you to not be, for example, Lucky Pace. The Die with Scarlet Power card does give neck and neck, which I do think is actually a very strong acceleration for Christmas Oguri. However, it is going to be a little bit harder to fit a power card into your deck, particularly on Christmas Oguri, where you do want to be building a very high wit stat to prevent you from whiffing your recoveries. Neck and neck is still going to proc even if you are in first place, which makes it a pretty nice all-rounder option. Lates do have access to accelerations, and they have access to buffed on your left and buffed from the brink. However, I don't think that it's worth running both of these cards in your deck because I don't think you want to get both of these gold skills in addition to your other accelerations. That's just a little bit over-indexing, and you want to make sure that you can survive the track and also push forward a little bit during the mid-race. Now, I will say that lates do have issues with getting pushed too far forward in debuff-heavy lobbies. If you do run into lobbies that have, for example, Christmas Oguri and double debuffer, with both players playing that, your lates are going to be in 3rd and 4th place if you're also running a debuffer, or if you're running triple late, you're going to be in 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So it is a little bit tricky to manage your positioning for lates, especially because debuffer comps are going to be so popular because this CM is really just rough, honestly. So I do think that late comps should try to avoid running end closers or running debuffers, particularly debuffers with Dirt G, because those debuffers are going to push your lates forward in the comp, which means that you really might get stuck in that 3rd to 4th place in late race. Now, luckily, On Your Left can proc from 4th place, but we don't want to rely on only On Your Left. We want to hit On Your Left and Moving Past and Beyond at the very minimum for a chance of beating a Christmas Oguri. End closers are pretty much just late surgers, minus On Your Left plus Daring Strike. End closers can use From the Brink, and end closers can, of course, use No Stopping Me from Yukino Bijin Wit. Ends will have to work a little bit harder to get into position, but they are usually further back than the lates, which does mean that they have a little bit more access to 6th place for Let's Pump Some Iron. If another player in the room is running a late surger, your end closer might actually get like perfect access to 6th place. Similar to lates though, you do want to run Umas that will be ahead of your end closers so that you can keep your end closers pushed back for accelerations. They really, really want to be in that 5th and 6th position. For Velocity Inherits, I've kind of listed here the main options that you would want to use just to flesh out your legacy trees. Of course, you'll be running your acceleration parents in your direct parent slot. For all of your grandparent slots, these are all great options for skills that you can inherit that will help you out in the mid or late race. So with debuffers, you can either choose to go stamina debuffs or velocity debuffs. Generally, I think it's better to pick one of those options and go all in on that by using both of your debuffers for that one option. You can also choose to only run one debuffer or 2 debuffers. I don't recommend building hybrids. I don't really think that hybrids are very viable moving forward now that 564 is a thing. When we're talking about debuffing velocity, the pros of debuffing velocity is that it's going to be stronger versus Christmas Oguri, who can usually survive stamina debuffs. Now, debuffing velocity means that you're going to have a more accessible second Uma. Because Tachyon and Grass Wonder are both not 3 stars, so you have automatic access to 2 of them. The main issues with debuffing velocity is that when you're debuffing velocity, you're running the Gold City speed card and inheriting Keen Eye with 564. And because 564 and Dominator are both late race skills, your 564 can hit Dominator instead of Keen Eye, which means that you're only getting the benefits of Dominator. Additionally, velocity debuffs will help you when you're looking at making up narrow margins, but it won't help you when it comes to an Uma that is just completely outclassing yours. For that, debuffing stamina can be very strong because debuffing stamina will just auto-win if you can deplete stamina enough to make those Umas just walk to the finish line. When you're debuffing stamina, if you do go all in, you can still stam out a low stamina Christmas Oguri. This is by using as many of those debuffs as possible and really making sure that you're targeting pace chasers. The unfortunate part of debuffing stamina is that you are completely useless against Umas that have overstammed, particularly if another person in the lobby is not also running a stamina debuffer. Also, Murmur and All-Seeing Eyes can both whiff. All-Seeing Eyes requires line of sight, and Murmur does require you to be blocked before it will activate. So there is a chance that both of those will just not proc in VCM. So when we're building debuffers, we want to consider that Dirt G is not going to be as effective as raising the Dirt aptitude of our debuffers. This is because your Dirt G Uma is going to lag behind so much that they might not hit their late race skills before an Uma has already won. Because there's so much of a distance between them, the activation conditions of a lot of debuffs happen in the late race, which means that if your Uma is so slow because they have Dirt G, they'll be so far behind that even if they, get to this position and try to proc their debuffs, somebody else could have already won. You want to maximize the amount of time that you and the enemy Umas are both together in the late race prior to the end of the race. For this, I do recommend raising your Dirt G Umas to Dirt C. This will help them to keep up with the pack and help to close the distance a little bit between them and the other Uma. Dirt C requires 10 Dirt Sparks, but you don't have to get Dirt in your inheritances, you don't have to do anything like that, just put Dirt Sparks in your legacies and your debuffers will be more effective. And even though I just gave that advice, I think that people should anticipate Dirt G debuffers anyway. This is particularly crucial for late and end players because it's better to just expect to see Dirt G debuffers in rooms. A Dirt G Uma is going to shut off Sleeping Lion, which is that Taishan Wit and end closer only recovery. This means that they will not get that recovery if there are Umas in the room that are lagging so far behind them that they're not far back enough. A lot of dirt G-Umas in the room could push your lates and ends forward in the lobby, possibly by 4 entire slots. So because of this, we want to anticipate only having access to 5th place at the lowest in a worst case scenario. This means that we're not always going to get Let's Pump Some Iron as an acceleration. So in this diagram, you can see that I have put 4 dirt G debuffers here because they are both paired up with both of these Christmas Oguris. If we are running a late surger comp, we can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We only get 3rd, 4th, and 5th access. The saving grace here is that our 5th place Uma will get moving past and beyond. Now this is why I don't recommend running end closer debuffers or end closers in general with your late surgers or end closers if you're running end closers, because you want to keep your Umas positioned as far back in the lobby numerically as possible while still trying to close in on the Umas ahead of you. Because if you're so far back because you didn't build mid-race so that you could try to secure 5th place, the Christmas Oguris are just going to win anyway. So you really have to thread the needle of making sure that position-wise you are far back, but mid-race wise you are pushed forward. It's a hard line to walk, but I think that if you are taking this into consideration when you're thinking about your team comps and your builds, you're going to be performing a little bit better. My personal thoughts, the CM, I do think that CM17 is going to be another kind of filter CM like CM11 was. For folks that don't remember, CM11 was the 3200 Hanshin slip and slide immediately after we started Track Blazer. This feels very similar to that where, you know, there's a very impressive meta, everybody is adjusting to a new scenario, everybody is trying to figure out how to high roll in Grand Concert, there's difficult stat requirements, there's difficult thresholds, and now there's also difficult aptitude requirements on top of it. My best advice here would be to just don't stress. Build an Oguri if you can or if you want to, or just practice Grand Concert, make parents, put something in there that you think could work, and we'll all get through this together. It's not hopeless, it is possible to win even with late searchers, even if you're not running Oguri, even in rooms with double Oguris, even with rooms with UF Oguris, but it is going to be a little bit more challenging. I think it's still absolutely possible to get into Group A Round 2. I think it is still very possible to get into Group A Finals, just maybe don't anticipate getting like an extremely high win rate. And that's it for my CM17 guide. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know in the comments section. I do really appreciate it. As a closing note, we are still experimenting with independent training as it stands for parent runs in Raycord. We now have automated image processing in Raycord in order to compile data much more quickly. If you are interested in contributing, I'm probably going to make a different video about this tomorrow, but just to tie this on to the very end, if you're interested in contributing to our data sets, please feel free to join Raycord and drop your screenshots in the thread. That will get them all counted, and our bot will take care of the rest. Thank you guys so much, and I will talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.